All right, welcome to a Cam Newton version of Double OT with Maury Hirschgordon. I'm Yanni Caracas. We're in the same building, Maury, but such is the case during the pandemic. We had to get creative with how we did this in a double box with our new set under construction. All right, we'll dive into a lot of layers with Cam Newton joining the Patriots. First, I learned the news from you last night. I went home for dinner to see the kids last night. You texted me. What was your immediate reaction?
I think the immediate reaction was, impressed. I think for the amount of money that they got him for, obviously cheap. He's, in the age of being he's in his prime. I just think his style will mesh well with the Patriots. I think Bill Belichick is always trying to, come up with the latest and greatest and can conform to any player. That's Bill Belichick's strength. I think Josh McDaniels also, likes Cam Newton as well. So I think, it's going to be a good blend in New England.
So my initial reaction was just shock, and not because the Patriots signed Cam Newton for a one-year deal for cheap money. We all could have, I guess, predicted that a month ago. Just the timing of it. The NFL's on sort of its summer hiatus before training camp starts in late July. So the timing, a Sunday night, free agency's long gone, the draft, all those things. So it sort of just came out of nowhere because when you think about it, it's like Cam's just been on the street, much like Kaepernick, and why now? But once it settles in, my reaction from a media perspective and as a lifelong Patriot fan is excitement because you can't dispute that once Tom Brady walked out of the door, this team had less buzz and less excitement and less it factor. And now that Cam Newton's here, and this no disrespect to Jarrett Stidham and Brian Hoyer, they seem more relevant, have more buzz, and it's such a Patriot move. My initial thought, and I tweeted this out, was never a dull moment covering the Patriots because over the course of several years, whether it was AB or Tim Tebow or Deflategate or Spygate or Aaron Hernandez, there's just always something going on. So it's exciting and just having content. Here we are. We haven't done really a double OT in a while because it's like, what are we going to talk about when the MLB and NBA are coming back? It was good to just have some sports to talk about. So, all right, from a football perspective, a lot of people are thinking, hey, this is a red flag on Jarrett Stidham. Other people are saying it's just competition. Where do you stand on the timing of this? Because it's July, it's a bizarre offseason. Is there going to be enough time for him to start week one? Is he healthy enough to start week one? Or do you see them taking it slowly with Cam?
I think if you bring in Cam Newton and a player of his stature with everything that he's accomplished in his career so far, I think he's undoubtedly the number one quarterback that you bring him in. He's going to command the respect of the room. He already has. We saw on Twitter on Sunday night, the eyeball emojis from James White and the McCourties, Stephon Gilmore. I mean, these are prominent, captain guys, guys that are potentially could be Hall of Famers in the Pro Football Hall of Fame when it's all said and done. So you bring in a guy of his stature, he's immediately the number one quarterback. Now, will he have enough time to gain a rapport with the players, prepare, learn the offense, that type of thing? Mm-hmm. I think that's still to be seen, but I think no doubt you bring in a guy of his stature, he's the number one quarterback. And I think it also gives the Patriots solid quarterback depth, something they haven't had in 3 years. It was always, well, if Tom Brady gets an injury, it's going to Brian Hoyer or it's going to a rookie Jarrett Stidham with no experience. Now you have a guy in Jarrett Stidham who the Patriots say they like and think could potentially be the starter long term. But you have somebody who's been in their system as a backup for Cam Newton, who's been injury prone. So I think it's just good across the board in all aspects.
Yeah, assuming health. So he hurt his foot last year. The shoulder was a couple years ago, but assuming he has full health, I expect him to start week one. I think it's actually to his benefit that this is such an atypical offseason because no one really is up to speed, right? How much can you mimic on Zoom calls and side throwing sessions with your receivers? So it's almost like Stidham has a year under his belt in the system. We know Hoyer's been here on a couple, I guess this is his third time now. So they know the inherent Patriot approach. But it's not like they have an advantage on the field. There was no mini camp in June. There was no OTAs. And I think when you have an athletic quarterback, it's almost better than Tom Brady's situation in Tampa for a difficult offseason because you can dumb down the offense and just be like, hey, run pass option or keep it simple because he's going to be able to make so many plays just out of his pure athleticism. As for the reaction of the Patriots, as you said, I think these guys, these guys like it based on what you said with the McCourties and James White. And that's no disrespect to Jarrett Stidham, but something the McCourty said last night is you can never have too many good players. So our quarterback room is now better today than it was yesterday. So it's good to have competition. And as for Jarrett Stidham's psyche, does he lose confidence? Maybe. I mean, he can't be thrilled about this, right? But he's going to have to compete if he wants to win that job. And maybe the Patriots don't think he's ready right now. Maybe they want him to have another year. So there's two lines of thought, though. Do you let Cam start, and then as Stidham progresses, is he the long-term answer? Or is Cam behind and Stidham starts, but then if you put Cam in, you're sort of stunting Stidham and pulling the plug early. So I feel like you almost have to start with Cam for that reason of the timetable, because if Cam has a breakout year, chances are he's signing a long-term deal with someone else next year, right?
For sure, no doubt, and I think it's a good test for Stidham. I think this is just one of many things that a professional athlete has to go through. You learn the business side of things, and if he folds and if he crumbles, that's definitely not the Patriot way. That's definitely not something that will impress Bill Belichick and his staff. And what happens when you're down, 28-3 in a Super Bowl? You don't have that mental moxie, that mental makeup to be able to overcome such feats. So I think it'll be a good test for Stidham. And everything we've heard so far, it would sound like, he'll be fine and come in and continue to push. But I think it's got to be Cam from day one.
1 second, Connor, are you good me doing this for another 10 minutes?
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay. Connor's running prompter in here. The other thing I wanted to talk about is, and I just did an interview with our Nexstar station in Charlotte. He asked me, what do people think of Cam Newton up here? And my answer was I think people marvel at his athletic ability and his MVP season, and if healthy, everything he can do. But I do think, and I don't want to say there's questions about his character, because I think he's a good teammate and he's played through injury. But you think back to the Super Bowl when he didn't reach down to pick up the fumble, and then he had a really poor sport post-game press conference. You've seen him sulk a little bit. So from that perspective, do you think Patriot Nation right now, and I think my friends who are Patriots, I'd say it's 50-50. Like, one buddy will text me like a throw-up emoji and be like, I don't want Cam, he's a punk. Other people will be like, I can't wait to have Cam. But people say he's a good teammate, seemingly never had issues with his coaching staff. And if his teammates like him, maybe he's difficult with the press. But you think people are going to start really buying Cam Newton stock from a fan perspective?
I think they're going to buy in. I think if we just think back to a year ago, Tom Brady was awfully moody in post-game press conferences.
Right.
He was not, the kindest, the most open, the most friendly after wins, let alone after losses, because he knew, what was going to happen. So I think, if you look at that and if that cancels each other out, so to speak, then sure, he's an attention seeker. He does the dabs. He does the Superman chest. He does a couple of those things that will have to be tailored back. But if that's tailored back, and we've seen success stories in New England, we've seen failures, then I think it's going to be a great marriage. I think there's no reason why this can't work. I think people will rally around Cam, and I think they'll rally around the fact that he's tough and his style of play. He, as injury prone as he is, he still takes a beating, and it's a lot for him to miss a season. And
I think Newton, I think he suffers from the old Shaquille O'Neal deal where you're so big, you're officiated differently. If he is hit the same way Tom Brady is hit, he's not getting the flag as often as Tom Brady is because he's just so big, something that happened to Shaquille O'Neal. But yeah, I think the interesting thing, Maury, is going to be a year from now. If he has a good season, let's say they go to the divisional round, AFC Championship game, he has a good year on the field, do they sign him up 4 years, 120, 130 million, or is this just a stopgap year and it's Stidham after that? Because that's sort of where it gets interesting. We've seen so many times the Patriots or the reclamation project, someone goes there for a year and they rehabilitate their career and then they go get paid elsewhere. We've seen it so many times from countless players. So is that what happens with Cam? Because this was mentioned a couple times today. He's younger than Russell Wilson, obviously younger than Aaron Rodgers, 31. I mean, this is like the prime of his career. So he's been around so long. I think it goes back to winning the Heisman and the national championship at Auburn. So he's been in our conscious for so long that you maybe think he's over the hill, but really he's not.
I think if they get 70% of what a normal healthy Cam Newton is, I think that's better than 100% of Jarrett Stidham. And it's definitely better than 100% of Brian Hoyer. I think he's got an opportunity to come in here and really reset his value. I think it's still a little too early maybe to tell, if Stidham's going to be the long term, if this is just a stopgap year. But I mean, hey, I guess it's going to be a good problem to have if he can go win you 10, 11 games, you win the division for yet another year, and you make a deep run in the playoffs.
My only other thing is with Josh McDaniels, I'm excited for Josh McDaniels because, reportedly he's been sort of craving a mobile quarterback. He was high on Lamar Jackson. There were the rumors about Baker Mayfield. And so now what does he do with the bag of tricks of a mobile quarterback? Even that game, Stidham started on a Thursday night a couple years ago during the Deflategate suspension of Brady. You saw Brissett ran the ball, I want to say 8 or 9 times, like some bootlegs and some stuff. So if he gets creative with that, my only thing is Cam Newton has always been the most gifted person athletically. Is he going to be as invested as Tom Brady was, game plan wise, preparing wise? Like, is he going to sit down there with Josh McDaniels, or does he meet with Bill Belichick every Tuesday like Brady did and really just devour game plans? Because when someone is so athletically gifted like that, he's always been able to be like, all right, give me the ball and the pads, I'm going to go win. But how invested will he be with that stuff with the Patriots? Because obviously we know Brady was that. So yeah, very, very interesting. Anything else we didn't touch on you wanted to?
Not really. I think one cool little stat that I found was, I think since Christian McCaffrey joined the Panthers and came into the league, his completion percentage, Newton, was about 63%, which is a good 4 or 5 percentage points above what his career average is. So everybody that says, he's not the most accurate passer, and he makes up a lot, of stuff with his legs. I think having a player like James White and having a player like Sony Michel will help flank that and will help protect, that weak part of his game, so to speak. So, I think that the offense is going to potentially look like, what the Baltimore Ravens is, a lot less flashy, a lot less speed, but, they're going to be methodical. They're going to move the chains. 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, there's going to be calls all the time for Newton to take it himself.
Yeah.
When you're 6'6", 6'7", that's not 3 or 4 yards isn't as daunting as, maybe potentially handing the ball off to Michel or handing it off to White or trying to find Edelman on a quick slant. So I think there's a multitude of options and weapons the Patriots now have at their disposal. And I think, as long as he's healthy, and it's such a big if. We say that with pretty much every answer, but it's such a big if. If he's healthy, I think they'll be just fine.
Yeah, it's not like the Patriots were taking the top off the defense last year. They don't have that player. So if everything is sort of within 15 yards, like you say, if you're swinging it out to White or Edelman's doing his little seam route there, maybe the tight ends hit that they just drafted. If everything is sort of shorter, you would assume the completion percentage would go up. But that is the knock on Cam Newton. I think he's only been above 60% completion percentage 3 times out of his 9 years. So, but the Pats are going to put him in a position to succeed. So hopefully that works its way out. All right, hopefully we hear from Cam in the coming days. Good stuff, Maury, and we'll be breaking down more of the Pats coming up in the not too distant future. Full episode, WPRI.com and on Apple, and make sure you subscribe, write a review, all that good stuff. We'll see you next time.